Hey there, listeners, and welcome to Project Zero, where we hear the stories of all the best project managers in the game. My name's Alex Tuck, and I'm the host. I'm here with my friend and project management consultant, Galanda Brooker. Welcome to the podcast, Galanda.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, awesome. I can't wait to hear about your stories and your Project Zero, Galanda. Gonna be good. Hey, Galanda, tell us a little bit about yourself and the work that you do.
Okay, so I am a tech professional turned project manager, turned educator, turned wellness consultant. I started out my career in tech many, many years ago, over 20 years, and over time transitioned into project management while also teaching higher ed, as well as doing trainings within federal, state, and corporate environments. And in the most recent years, in the last about 5 years, I have pivoted a bit to focus on wellness, specifically emotional awareness and resilience. So I have went and did things like become a certified yoga instructor, become a certified meditation instructor, educated on trauma informed care, Red Cross certified, all of these sort of things, mental health first aid sort of things to kind of transition at this point to marry my project management skills with wellness.
Awesome. I love that. Yeah. And honestly, you're still doing PM work. You do work from
I
home.
am.
And all those skills you probably wish you had 15 years ago when you were working in project management to start,
Yes,
right?
absolutely.
Oh, geez. Cool. So you gave us a little insight. Tell us what kind of technical work you were doing originally before you got into project management.
So I, for real, started from the bottom. Like I was a administrative assistant who then became a self-taught CRM administrator, who then went on to do database administration, who then went on to do network administration and security sprinkled in there. So over time, I just took on additional skills. I think my most recent technical skill was as a SharePoint engineer, which was pretty cool. I've been Microsoft certified at some points as well. I think my favorite though was the CRM database space. That was the type of technical support and technical work that I enjoyed the most of my time doing technical work.
Interesting. Cool. And so do you feel like your technical expertise helped you with project management?
Absolutely. And I think it helped me with project management because I didn't jump right into technical work. I knew all the different parts of it, right? Like I knew it from the perspective. I knew it from the management perspective. I knew it from the mid-level management. And understanding all of those perspectives is extremely helpful in project management when you're dealing with different types of stakeholders.
Yeah, I think that's as a PM myself, like I don't come from a technical background. And I think a lot of times I have to I've had to prove myself to the technical team to get buy-in like that. Hey, look, I understand what woes you're going through, right? But you don't have to do that, right?
Yeah.
You already know what that feeling's like, right?
It is, it gives you like street cred, so to
Yep.
speak. And truthfully, it's probably a slightly easier, right? Just because you understand certain terminology, you understand how different groups interact. You do that as a PM, but when you've done the work, it gives you just a very slight edge. I still think PMs who don't have a technical background do a fantastic job, but it makes things ever so slightly easier when you do.
Yeah, for sure, especially for those technical project management challenges.
Exactly.
Cool. Yeah, so tell us when you went from that technical role into a PM role. Did you actually get called a PM or were you just taking on some of the responsibilities?
So I was taking on the responsibilities. I was thinking about as we were having our pre-conversation when I said I started being a PM. I think the official start was when I worked for the federal government at the Department of State. But even prior to that, I worked at Maryland Department of Transportation and I was doing PM like duties, maybe project coordinator, pre-PM duties there. But at Department of State, I was a SharePoint engineer, and when our team lead moved to another position, I got moved to that position, which then put me in the responsibility of having to manage various projects between the different age. So Department of State covers things like the embassy, the passport office, even some secure areas as well. And so there were projects, small projects between all of these agencies. And that's when I started really doing the project management work. And where, because I was doing the work, I was like, okay, I'm doing this work. These other people that are in my peer role are certified. It's when I officially decided to go ahead and get certified as a project manager.
That's awesome. Cool. That's great. I like to ask this question to some folks that I know had this experience when they were younger. Did you ever fall into the role of a project manager within your family or in any childhood experience?
Did I? I am the eldest daughter, eldest child, period. Eldest grandchild of my group. So I am absolutely the family project manager, family reunions, vacations and such. So yes, even now, if it'd be a small it could be a small project. Like we're going to put together like my mother had a 60th birthday party. She lived in Tennessee. I lived in Maryland. My sister lived in Virginia. Wonder who managed that project long distance, drove and got it all together. The venue, the food, the party favors, all of this for her big 60th birthday bash. I did. So absolutely. I
Oh,
could say that I have been the family project manager on a lot of things. I have since quit that job, but I still get a request for consultation from time to time.
oh my God. I love it, Galanda. I'm a fellow eldest child and I just booked our entire Thanksgiving for my whole family. So I get exactly
So
what you're saying, Galanda. It never stops at all. Even though you quit, you're still going to get pulled back into it. Awesome. Cool. All right. So you alluded to it earlier. Tell us about that project zero, the first project where you like figured out how to be a project manager for the first time.
So I would say at Department of State, like I said, we worked with a lot of various agencies, but I also was responsible for a lot of the technical. And so we had a significant system upgrade that had to take place. So this included hardware, software, affected multiple agencies. This is where my real project muscle got flexed, so to speak, right? Managing the various matrix stakeholders, because it's across a bunch of groups, balancing the various meetings, that balancing the documentation necessary because each group different things while still ensuring that progress actually happened. So that system upgrade was, I would say, my first really, it was almost like a sink or swim because it was like, okay, it's got to be done. That's your group. I wouldn't say that I had any experience before, but I am a very, very quick study. I am an excellent researcher. So, I got it done. But I remember it being very stressful. Like, there wasn't much to teach me how to manage all the different stakeholders. And I credit that experience with being very chill about managing stakeholders at this point because that was walking on hot coals through the fire for sure.
Interesting. Do you remember what the system was?
I don't remember what this, I know we had some server upgrades, we had software upgrade. And if you're not familiar, within Department of State, it's a 24-hour shop. It never closes. Like it's 3 shifts, right? There's people on all the time. So trying to manage the switch out of hardware, the installation of software where it would have the least impact on the least amount of people, that was where the challenge was. So even though when I initially started at Department of State, I was on the afternoon shift. That's 3 to 11. Then I moved to 11 to 7. And then when I got moved into this more supervisory PM role, then I was on day shift. But I still had to manage all of these kind of system things across because the system upgrades happen either on afternoon shift or the overnight shift. But I still had to coordinate it. Well, my people working were asleep during the day. You know what I mean? So it's an interesting dynamic with Department of State because you have to really work across the different times because it's a 24-hour shop. So,
Oh my God. I remember being on call. I know this wouldn't be the case for you, but I remember being on calls with India and the Philippines
Mhm.
and everything else in the middle of the night while we were doing upgrades and they didn't work. And so from 2 to 6 AM, we were trying to deal with a P1. Oh, man. I
Exactly.
don't miss those days.
Me either, because the other thing is I worked all of the shifts, right? So I understood what was going on. But embassies are part of the Department of State. So we might be closed in the state, but across the globe, they're open. That's also why we have staff year round, all day round, rather. And sometimes you have to be woken up. And like you said, on call, I had to manage the on call schedule, right? So I had people working, but if something happened, I had to make sure I had my on call people as well. So scheduling staff, managing between these different time zones, literally, even within your own staff. Like I said, it was a sink or swim. We made it through. It was all good. They kept me afterwards. So I guess I did okay. But I think that was where whatever scratches and bumps and bruises, they healed over well, and they well prepared me for all the things that I had afterwards.
That's awesome. So were you learning obviously you were learning how to be a project manager, but did you have a mentor or someone that was like helping you apply project management principles, or were you just like Googling the heck out of it and trying to figure things out on your own?
I was winging it. The funny thing is, even the initial job that I had coming into the Department of State was a SharePoint engineer. At the time that I applied for the job, I had not worked with SharePoint. I was not SharePoint certified, but I did a 2-week crash study, did the interview. They liked me, came in. I had no experience with SharePoint prior to me getting that job. And basically the same thing happened with the project management in terms of being able to figure out staff, figure out budgeting, all of that stuff. I just figured it out once I got there. It was really an interesting dynamic too, because in my area, there was maybe one other woman project manager. All of the rest were men. And so that was an interesting dynamic as well. I think also I might have been a little bit more mature than some of the other people. And like you said, I've had kind of an interesting path. Even though I've come this way, I was very highly educated as well, right? So maybe like even overqualified in some areas. So it was some interesting interpersonal dynamic for me as well, working in that position as a PM.
Oh yeah, for sure. Do you feel like the industry or the practice has changed at all now with the percentage of males and females in technical project management? Do you think that we're seeing more females in that space, or what's your
Oh,
experience?
I think definitely as I moved on throughout my career, I did absolutely see more female project or women project managers. I think what I'm going to say is not going to be a surprise to anyone, but just the way they project management is just different. Women project manage very differently than men, in my opinion, where we take a more communication approach more often, and they're more an action or task approach first often. So, but I do think that there's more women project managers. And I think through the evolution of project management to take into account more of what we call the soft skills, then that's also another reason why we see that.
Yeah, I think you're right. I when you go through project management training, or like when you actually experience it and you mentor people, or you're mentoring or you're receiving mentorship, this characteristics that you're describing in female project managers, right? Like that, those are skills that are taught across the entire
Mhm.
practice, right?
Yeah.
And vice versa, like being more direct and some of the
Mhm.
stereotypical male attributes like start to get
Sure.
trained as well. And I think we're starting to get more diverse, project managers in general, at least the good ones, the ones that stick around, right? Are the ones that
Yeah.
you do that balance of like firmness, but good communicators, thinking about change management, doing all the things, right?
Sure.
And I think it is, to your point, having more female PMs in the space is impacting that in a positive way. So,
Yes, absolutely.
yeah, cool. Awesome. Let's talk. Thanks for sharing that Project Zero. I like that one. I think you're either the third, fourth, fifth, something like that guest that has talked about either a federal or state government project and how it was you learned quickly, right? How to be a
Yeah.
PM.
That's sink or swim. And the interesting thing about federal government is you can learn it in one space and you go to another space and it's totally different, right? So the experience that I had at the Department of State and how we operated as project managers was very different than what I did when I worked for the Center for Medicaid and Medicaid Services, right? CMS. They have you learn the default project management, but then they have their own project management system. And so you have to learn their system, try to reconcile it with what you already know in order to get things done. It's always on the job learning, but if you have the basics and you have a lot of patience, which is the number one trait I think one needs to have in order to be a project manager, then it can work out all right for you.
That's awesome. You literally answered my next question, which was what is the number one skill? You described a trait, right? So the patience piece. Is there a skill, like a specific skill that you feel like you learned that project managers absolutely have to be a good project manager?
I think that the skill, I guess, would be understanding that they can't being able to discern how to communicate with different people. Like, you can't communicate with all of the people on the team, stakeholders included, the same. You have to be able to communicate with them in a way that makes sense for them. So if they have that skill to be able to discern, "Oh, this is a person that I need to have a conversation with," versus, "This is a person, they only want to email from me." Or, "This is a person, they just wanna see the document. They don't really care about all that other stuff." Being able to discern the communication style of the receiver, I think, is a very important skill.
Yep, for sure. Communication comes up a lot. Speaking of communication, let's talk about something you can't communicate with, at least not verbally, or it won't receive it the same way that humans do. How do you think AI is going to change the role of the project manager in the next decade?
I think that if you are not already a critical thinker, right, you're just doing the task thing, it's gonna be very difficult for you. Because I think what AI does is it enhances what you already have, right? I am not one of those people who think AI is gonna take all the jobs. No, it is going to enhance for the people who already know their jobs really well and then learn that as a tool to leverage it, right? It's a leverage tool in my opinion. So things like that, we used to take a lot of time doing kind of different kind of reports. If the systems are set up where the data is there, AI can aggregate that information for you. There's no need to be spending a lot of time on that sort of thing. If you need to do some projections, AI can help support that. You still need the human eye and discernment for it. But the time it takes to get to that projection, AI is going to do that. Even trying to figure out risk. Again, first pass, AI can take care of all of that. And then you use your expertise and your experience to then filter through what that information is. So I think it's actually going to, it actually has the ability to save time so that you can give more value added and you can move project forwards faster if if you know how to wield the tool appropriately. I'll put it that
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting because, like, right now, AI will continue to get better, and you'll be able to use different models and different
way.
tools to get better at it, but you still see that with these, like, meeting summaries, right? Pretty dang good meetings, better than anything that I can take notes on, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
That might be a me problem, though. But the action items that come out at the bottom, that's where, yeah, I think project managers or anyone, any leader slam dunks on AI because I think that the action items are interesting, but they're so arbitrary, right? Like, they're not detailed enough, and so that's the one thing that I pay attention to when I'm in meetings is like, "All right, is there some big action that we need to take?" And I wanna make sure that the summary covers that. So it's just figuring out either, like, how to make the AI better at doing stuff like that, or just knowing that there are gonna be some tripwires in there somewhere that you keep looking at. Yeah, it's
I think too, you don't have to be super researched with it, but I think understanding the different AI models or the different AI providers is important For example, I have a friend who is a healthcare consultant. She's doing a lot with regulations and things. And I recently told her, hey, maybe you should look at this AI because she uses ChatGPT like many of us do for a lot of her things. And I'm like, hey, maybe you should look at this one because this model actually will provide you with citation, right? Like
Yeah.
it will give you the verification to what it's saying, where it's getting that information from, which is really important for her in healthcare and regulation. Not to say that ChatGPT can't be beneficial, it absolutely has for her. But for some of the work she does, a different model would be better suited. So I think understanding for whatever your industry is, for whatever kind of group or organization that you work for, understanding that there are different models and a particular AI model might be better suited for your company or organization instead of just relying on the generic whatever model you think you should use. I think that's important as well.
Oh, I like that. That actually gives me an idea. We should do like a little primer on different what the different models are and how you can use it with the project management. It's a good idea.
Yeah, yeah.
Cool. Awesome. So tell me, this changes with every single PM that I know. Like, how do you define success on a project now compared to what you did back in the day when you first started?
So success back in the day was did I just get through it?
Right.
That was the success. Did I make it through? Did I hit the targets in terms of documentation, the milestones, et cetera? Now success really is more qualitative. I mean, there of course there's quantitative points, but it's really qualitative. Does the client, whether it's internal or external, do they feel like the outcome now enhances them from this point forward? Whatever the particular milestones are, whatever the particular objectives are, those are still important. But I look more qualitatively like, hey, yes, this is going to make our ability to meet our mission better. This is going to make us be able to function better. If the qualitative fee is positive, then I find that to be a better indicator for me for project success than simply we met all the milestones in the time frame in the budget that was outlined.
I love that distinction. It's really well articulated. For me, it's like always, did the client get value out of what we
Mhm.
produced, right? And so
Exactly.
if we got the job done and they're experiencing any value, we screwed up. Like
Exactly.
as a team, not even as a consultant, just as a team, we didn't achieve anything. We got a check mark done. So yeah, it's interesting. That's young project manager, not young and like not age young, but like just early in their career PMs. They just think, especially because they get trained by PMI, it's just like, all right, risks, issues, tasks, dependencies, like all these things get done, right? And then nobody wants to fill out, like they don't want to update the status reports or any of that stuff, right? Nobody wants to participate in that. And so it's just like, how do you create value without getting in the way, right? Like, how do you remove
Yeah.
roadblocks?
I know that there's other certifying bodies outside of PMI, but PMI is the only one that I am personally familiar with. And I do think that certification wise, it absolutely skews on the technical or administrative part of it. I will say though that post certification and kind of some of the content that they provide PMIs or have available post certification does lean a little bit more on the other side of the qualitative communication work. So it's on the front end, it's okay, it's rote memorization almost and application. But afterwards, they do have content that is helpful. They have content on AI, they have content on communication, they have content on leadership, which, in my opinion, when I was studying and first being a PM, that was not the focus at all. It was, did you know this formula? Do you know whatever the different things were? Whereas now, when I go and I consume content from them, it's more on communication styles, managing matrix organization stakeholders, things that are practical that really happen in the real world. So on the front end, not so much. On the back end, a bit better.
Yeah, I'm taking, what is it called? The cognitive AI for project managers certification with PMI right now. Like there's some awesome content in it, right? Like
Mhm.
getting the foundations of any practice whatsoever is important. And then as you mature, you realize, oh shoot, I only need 5% of this or 10%. I'm not building a bridge across the Atlantic. I'm
Yeah.
I'm rolling out a CRM.
I think if it was like construction management or something like that, some of those things make more sense. But in technical project management, especially for like software projects, a lot of that stuff it just doesn't apply.
Yeah.
It doesn't apply.
No, I don't know. Cool. Awesome. All right, speed around time. So I think you've listened to the podcast before, so you know what I do here. I'm going to give you a few different answers, and you get to choose among one of those answers or some other thing. So first one, all right, in the context of project management, are you a Slack, email, text, or phone call person?
Mm. Email.
Email. Okay, cool. Agile or waterfall? Which way do you lean?
I prefer agile.
Okay, cool. Speed or perfection?
In the middle, no,
Okay.
that's cheating. Okay, if I have to choose, I'm going to say speed.
All right, good, good, good. All right, favorite PM tool?
Of course.
Awesome. Worst PM tool?
Microsoft project.
You did it. You said it out loud. All right, and we talked about this already, but certifications. Are you a yes to it, no to it? Do they add value?
I think early in your career, yes, it adds value. Later in your career, no, it doesn't really matter. So if you're just starting out, you're trying to get in PM, yes, it's helpful. It gives you a foundation. It gives you something some footing to stand on. But once you've been in an organization, done a couple projects, the certification doesn't really matter that much anymore.
Okay, cool. Those are fun. I like the speed round. If you have any other
Yeah.
ideas about other
Yeah.
things to add later, let me know. Cool. So, one last question before we wrap up here. If you were to give one piece of advice to an early stage project manager, knowing that you started in technical and then moved into project management, but if you were just going to get started in project management from the start, what would you give them? What would you say they should focus on?
I would say that don't try to do it in a silo. If you don't personally know any project managers, there's like online user groups. Get into all the project management groups because they do share actual experiences. So that was really helpful to me when I'm not really contributing, just reading what the different questions are, what people are experiencing. Get in a user group. If you can get in one within your community where you live, your city or your state, do that. But if you can't online, there's lots of user groups on LinkedIn and even within PMI, if you are PMI certified, get in groups because that will accelerate your understanding of how you need to operate and how you need to move. And then you don't think you're crazy for some of the stuff that you're experiencing because other PMs experience those same things as well.
Yeah. Oh, I love that advice. And as much as I absolutely hate Reddit for some of the negative stuff that it brings up, like that Reddit project management thread is like a gold mine for
Mhm.
learning about project management. And you might get a hard time with your question,
Oh,
but it's worth it. Just post it, read it, and then go away
yeah.
or go learn from people that have already posted out there.
Exactly. Like it's my version of don't reinvent the wheel. You
Yep.
don't have to figure everything out. Ask other people, see what they're already doing
Love
and
it.
try.
Yep, for sure. Awesome. Cool. Well, Galanda, how can people connect with you? What's the best way to do that?
They can connect me through my website, which is www.galandab.com. They can also email me at info@galandab.com. That's info@galandab.com. Either one of those are great. I would be happy to hear from you and glad to.
Awesome. All right. I think that's it. That was fun. Thanks for joining me, Galanda.
Thank you for having me. It was a pleasure. Had a good time.
Awesome. All right. And thanks to all of you who joined us for Project Zero this week. Be sure to subscribe to Project Zero wherever you get your podcasts, and we'll catch you next time for another great project leader story.